So let's jump on into the big one, shall we? Let's talk topic 2. Let's talk Mortal Kombat 1. So as of recording, the premium edition came out for players who pre-order that on Thursday. The official release of the game is Tuesday, the 19th for everybody else. So we're going to be talking about game impressions here, how the story goes. Well, what do you think of the story? What do you think of Invasion's Tower, gameplay, etc., etc.? Later on, we are going to talk spoilers about the campaign. So if you don't want to be spoiled, that will be your time to check out. And you can come back when you want to and check out what I thought about it later. But don't worry, there will be fair warning, plenty of ample time for you guys to get out of there with safety in mind. So yeah, let's talk about Mortal Kombat 1. So first off, gameplay in this game is fantastic. I think NetherRealm did a great job with the gameplay in this one in terms of the new cameo system and just the movesets and move flow. I don't know. Movesets, everything. The flow of this game feels a lot more fun and entertaining in comparison to Mortal Kombat 11, in my opinion. I did enjoy my time with Mortal Kombat 11. I think I put 120 hours into it. Obviously, we did a replay through it recently where I was like, oh, this wasn't actually as bad. For some reason, playing through it the first time, maybe it's just the online mode of it or the tower mode of it, things felt slower, things felt clunkier, things didn't feel as fun in comparison to a Mortal Kombat 10. I don't know why there was that disconnect, but I felt that was the case. In terms of Mortal Kombat 1, this one feels way more interesting. In playing the campaign, obviously you play a majority of the characters, and usually when you're playing through campaign mode, you have your high points of like characters you really connect with, and your low points of like, oh boy, this is not connecting. A la me in the recent playthroughs, Kotal Kahn. Kotal Kahn was my kind of barrier, especially in MKX because his moveset wasn't as fleshed out as MK11. But you usually hit these lulls in characters of like, it's fine. You don't connect with those characters as well. In terms of MK1, at least from a campaign standpoint, I didn't really hit that point of stuck or lower point or dip in terms of gameplay. Obviously, there was like, with each chapter being 4 matches with the characters, your first match, usually especially if you haven't played the character at all, it's going to be rough. You don't know what combos you're going to hit. You don't know what specials you can do. Granted, you can look it up, or you could be me and just hardwire it and be like, I'm going to try out different combinations and see what works. It really depends on your playstyle, but I never hit that wall of like, this is difficult, or this is just somebody that I don't like. All the characters in terms of the campaign kind of enjoyed. There were things that definitely flowed better for other characters or that I picked up on faster, but everybody had moves or specials that I connected with, I could use on a regular basis, and it made the game fun and kept the flow going. I didn't hit those lulls. So I do appreciate that all the characters feel accessible or at least easy enough to learn the basics and will be, hard enough to master. What's that? Easy to learn, hard to master? There's a phrase. I don't know what it is, but you guys probably understand what I'm going for. That felt good. And so gameplay feels fantastic. Cameos are a nice touch. I need to use it better and learn how to use it better, but it's a nice fun touch to pay homage to the old games and the old timeline of like these older characters that we love and care about that maybe did not make it into the roster, story, etc. For this one, there's that. So that's great. Campaign's fantastic. We'll get into more of that later. I'll just leave it that. It's fun, it's interesting, it's engaging. Let's talk about invasions. Now, this is the one tip I'm going to give to everybody. This is not a spoiler. This is nothing there. This is just my tip to you to enhance your experience. Play the campaign / story mode. Story mode first. Play that first. Go through that ride. If you don't do that first, There's potentials of spoilers in the other modes, in the general concept of what Invasions is telling, and in what the tower mode will tell you in the aftermath. I only knew about the tower modes because one of the developers put it out there on X, Twitter, whatever. She stated that the tower endings are going to tie in, or at least reference, things that will happen in the main campaign. And then you can see what the characters hypothetically would have done if the focus was on them. So play the campaign first, then dive into the other modes. We're still not discussing spoilers, so it's just going to be generic thoughts from here on the other two modes. Towers are fine. It's your generic arcade tower ladder. Nothing really special there, nothing added, nothing to really write home about. Checks the box. Invasions is this single-player story that is almost like a mixture of towers and, for the lack of a better comparison, Mario Party. It's a board, you go from spot to spot, and you do small fights or challenges sometimes with modifiers, sometimes just not, sometimes there's towers in those, and you're going through and you're progressing through the map until you finish it and go to the next one. Weirdly looks like The Sims. Fair enough. From what I've played out of the, I think there's 5 or 6 worlds. I've played through one world in its entirety. It's a fun time. It's nothing to write home about. This is going to be your mode to primarily get your unlockables and, just kind of see what this game has to offer in terms of variety. It's fine so far. I don't know. In terms of a story, I've gotten one little glimpse, and it's a cool setup and premise. I don't know how the evolution of that story will continue as you go through. And I'm not sure how the challenge will elevate as you progress through it. I have hit a couple of not rough points, but parts where it is a little bit more tricky and challenging. There's no negative for it. It's just like, oh, you died. You can come back and redo it. If you want to go back and train and level up your characters, which this has, you can do that. But in terms of a game mode, it's fine. It's fun. It's nothing, like I said, that's going to knock your socks off of. But there's that. Overall, once again, I kind of forgot to mention this, but they have a level up system in Mortal Kombat 1. Doesn't happen in the campaign at all, but across all the other modes, you will have a profile level, a character level, and a cameo level that you can gain experience for playing different modes. Your profile level will gain you the ability to unlock different cameos so far that are locked, and I can't recall if there's anything else, but that will get you access to, I believe there's 4 or 5 cameos that are locked from the beginning. So your main profile will do that. Your character XP, they took this a little bit from Injustice, where each character had their own level experience that would increase their stats. Stats, I believe, don't come into play here unless it's the invasion mode. But what you do with the character XP is it's kind of like a battle pass, season pass, whatever. You don't have to buy it. It's just in there. But you can unlock different things that are character specific. So you can unlock different brutalities. You can unlock different profile cards. You can unlock different cosmetics. Those kinds of things per your character. And cameos, same exact thing. Cosmetics, brutalities, probably fatalities. Those are all in there. So it kind of rewards you for whatever player you're playing as. You can unlock rewards for that. I think that's fun. I know in the past titles, they've had the crypt, where you go through, unlock different chests, and it would be kind of like, not randomized. Most of them would be in certain spots. So if you looked up a guide, you would know where to find these things. But it had that aspect to the player of like, I have no idea what I'm opening right now for 500 gold. Pooh, pop that. Oh, it's just a little emoji or whatever it is. With this one, obviously, if you want certain things for certain characters, you have to play those certain characters. get the experience, go with that. I do enjoy that. Kind of 50-50 on the crypt, but we'll talk about that later. So you have that aspect in here. And what was I going for? Oh, let's talk about cosmetics, because we talked about unlocking cosmetics. Mortal Kombat 11 had cosmetics, and they kind of took that from the introduction in Injustice 2. Injustice 2's cosmetics, we talked about, a lot of fun, very rewarding, seeing your different heroes in the different costumes that you can unlock, the different color schemes you could do. It felt fun to do that. They tried to bring that over in Mortal Kombat 11, and it was very hit or miss. Masks make perfect sense. The masks look cool, make your character different, unique. And then they had other cosmetics that were similar, where it was just really small and minute, and that's usually not something you're going to be able to pick up on or really focus on while you're playing, in comparison to your superheroes in a whole new suit looking awesome. MK1 kind of fits the same mold, unfortunately. They have less cosmetics in terms of items that are equipped, mask, weapon, hip thing, whatever it is. Each character has one cosmetic that is tied to them. So for example, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, it is their mask. That's the only thing you can customize. Melina, Katana, Kung Lao, it's their weaponry or it's their hat. They have one thing that you can change. Some characters it's going to look really good with. Some characters it's not going to look great with at all. It is what it is. It's not my favorite thing. The masks are cool. The rest are not. Color schemes do make their return, and there are plenty. I think each character is going to have 9 different color schemes, I believe, tied into their attire. Speaking of attires, it seems like there are going to be plenty of those available to you throughout the game or throughout the lifespan of the game. What those attires will entail, I don't know. I would love, obviously, shoutouts to the past Mortal Kombat games. We'll have to see. And cameos are the same. Cameos also get this love, where they don't have the cosmetics you can change like the main characters with certain items, or you could swap it entirely. But they do get palette swaps. It seems like they will get skins as those spaces are empty. I'm hoping for the cameos, those are the ones they really go hard with, of like past titles. For example, Cyrax, the skin that he has in this one off default is literally labeled Mortal Kombat 3. I would love if they had like a Mortal Kombat 10 skin where it was Triborg, what Triborg looked like, or a Mortal Kombat 11 skin where we saw him in the campaign, couldn't play as him, but you could take that look and put it in here, or at least an inspired look. That would be great. Or tippity top, I believe we talked about this on stream. I don't remember if it was Genghis or TJ, but they're human versions. Let's see the human version of Cyrax or Sector, with those two being cameos. Jax being in there. Like, I think his cameo doesn't have his metal arms. I could be wrong. But like, make a variation with that. Sonya being her Mortal Kombat 1 skin. Let's see her Mortal Kombat 10. Same with Kano. It's obviously young Kano here. Let's see old Kano. I think for the cameos, that would be the best. Do that for them. And obviously your main roster cast, you can have those callbacks as well to the past games. It seems like the slots are there. It's just a matter of time of maybe finding them in the character ladders or whatever it is, or obviously post-launch content. We'll have to see if those are included there. To circle back to Invasions real quick, I forgot to mention, but this is also, I don't know if organic is the right term, but this is a game mode that is going to evolve over time, and it's seasonal content. So right now we're in season 1, and it's based on that story. After each season seems to be like 50 to, I think it's 50 days, because I'm in like 40 something. So after a few months, they will rotate out and have a whole new little labyrinth of islands or stages that you need to go through with additional unlocks. Each season is going to have their unlocks. You can earn seasonal in-game currency to unlock even more skins and more cosmetics and more things to customize your characters with. It seems like that's where a majority of the content is going to come from in terms of newer stuff. For now, each character has 6 slots in terms of skins. I'm sure that's going to be a simple thing where they can add a little scroll bar and, it can go up and down. I'm sure that's what they're going to do. If it's not what they're going to do, that's going to be a little disappointing because there are a hell of a lot of cosmetics and skins in the seasonal content. But like I said, I doubt it. They're just going to limit it to that. But that's going to be majority where you get your new stuff, I'm going to say. The only other place to get unlockables is the shrine. Now, they got rid of the crypt entirely in this one, so you can't go from chest to chest and get your stuff there. They have the shrine here, and this is your gamble. This is just your lottery machine or your slot machine of randomness. You go there, in-game currency once again. You throw in 1,000 coins. It melts it down, and it's going to spit out a random item for you. I'm assuming you can get these items regardless, concept art, other things like that. I'm assuming you can get them some other way, but this kind of just, it's like, a random aspect of it isn't super fun. I'd like to know how to get those items otherwise. Like, now saying it out loud, I don't know how you would get concept art otherwise, and that's a little shitty, just like not knowing everything that's involved in the shrine. So like, should I invest more money into this or not if I've gotten everything out of it? Because it seems like with the characters, everything for the character is going to be in their little XP season pass, battle pass, whatever, for the lack of term. That level up process will unlock the character stuff. This shrine just seems to be extra stuff. I don't know. So that's a little, in terms of like having that and not the crypt. At least the crypt was fun to explore and do those puzzles or whatever. Trying to think of what else they have or what else to talk about before diving into the spoiler stuff. I mentioned the gameplay. The gameplay's great. It's fun. It's fluid. Just a shout out to the graphics. NetherRealm keeps topping themselves of like how crazy this game's gonna look. Like, looking back on the history from Mortal Kombat 9, that jump to Mortal Kombat X, fantastic. The jump from Mortal Kombat 10 to even Injustice 2 with the facial models, that looks stunning. Then seeing that in 11 was great. This one surprisingly takes it to the next level, and it's getting insane how detailed these models are looking, and at some points even in the campaign, in very close-up cinematic shots, obviously, how realistic these things are looking. It's nuts. So just shout out to them. To have this high fidelity of character models and environments and how things flow in terms of a moveset and seamless transitions from the cutscenes to the gameplay, it's insane. It's one of those things like, I don't know how it gets better than this, but obviously they'll find a way, and they'll go from there. So just shout out to NetherRealm and the teams that have worked on this. It looks absolutely nuts. All right, everybody, this is your time where we are about to enter spoiler territory. We're going to be talking the full story and full campaign of Mortal Kombat 1. So if you haven't watched the stream from this past weekend, or you haven't delved in the story yourself and you don't want to be spoiled, now's your time to leave. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you. Love you. Come back and check this later and see what I thought. We're about to jump into spoilers for this story in 3, 2, 1. Okay, full spoiler territory. You've had your warning. This campaign was crazy and fun and in amazing and stupid ways that are all possible. So, if for some reason you don't know, so with the ending of MK11, You have the concept of the timeline being rewritten by Liu Kang. He's keeper of time. He's going to rewrite stuff. And as we've seen in the ample amount of trailers leading up to the release, we're in the new era. Characters are going to have new backstories, and we're going to deal with new problems, and people are in power and all that stuff. So that in itself is intriguing. We're doing a rewrite of the timeline. Things are new with characters. Let's see how these characters individually, where their stories go, grow, etc. What's going to be different from the initial timeline? What changes are going to affect how things change and run in this new timeline? So we open up the story, and the Mortal Kombat tournament is still a thing. However, rules are very different. In the initial run of Mortal Kombat, it was a thing placed by the Elder Gods, and it was a defense mechanism from realms just jumping to other realms and conquering them. In terms of Mortal Kombat, if you wanted to take over a different realm, you had to win 10 Mortal Kombat tournaments against them in a row. Outworld had already done that against Edenia. They had won 10 and conquered them. In the initial Mortal Kombat, Outworld was trying to take over Earthrealm, and when we, as the player, pop into the story, they had won 9 out of 10. And this was the last one they needed in order to do that. If they win 10, then they can take over. Okay, right? So, new timeline. Combat, the tournament is still there, but it's just like for fun. It's just like bragging rights, essentially. So we're setting up the Mortal Kombat tournament between Outworld and Earthrealm. And Liu Kang, getting his heroes together, he gathers Raiden, Kung Lao, Johnny Cage, and Kenshi Takahashi together. And he's like, we really need to win this one because Outworld's getting a little full of themselves, essentially, and we need to kind of put them in their place and say, like, hey, we're still a threat. We're still your equal. So it's like, all right, we got to win. So he recruits these 4 heroes. All of them have slightly different backstories from what they had in the past. Raiden's now immortal. Him and Kung Lao are the buddies, working the farms. And then Johnny Cage is still an actor, still kind of a dickhead. And him and Kenshi have a little backstory because Johnny has Kenshi's family sword. So Kenshi is now part of the Yakuza, but doesn't want to be part of the Yakuza and wants to reclaim glory for his clan and wants to rebuild there. So we have some tensions in there. So the 4 of them get recruited. They're going to be trained by the monks, and then they also run into the Lin Kuei, who the Lin Kuei are like Earthrealm's defenders. So the original Sub-Zero, Bihan, you have Scorpion, who's his brother, which is Kuai Lang, so no Hanzo. And you have Smoke, which seems to be like an adopted brother that they kind of just took into the clan after something. I don't think we dive into details there. But you run into them, and they kind of help along this journey as well. You go into the Mortal Kombat tournament to face Outworld. Outworld is run by Sindel, who's Empress there, and then she has her 2 daughters, Katana and Melina, who are there. You have some familiar faces in her royal guard. You have Li Mei. It's kind of like the town guard. You have her right-hand man, who is General Shao Kahn, formerly. And then Tanya, who's like super protector of the family themselves. Shao Kahn's General Shao is still kind of a dickhead. He's still kind of like, oh, we shouldn't trust Earthrealm, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So you end up doing the tournament. You win. Hey, this is like the first third of the game. And you're like, oh, okay, that was kind of quick. Meanwhile, in all this back behind the scenes stuff, Shang Tsung is still a part of this timeline, but he's like a nobody. Liu Kang's kind of made sure he's a nobody so he doesn't get back into the evil that he was doing. So he's like a door-to-door salesman, but he's faking like a snake oil salesman. He's kind of like a phony. He fakely. He's trying to sell this fake medicine. He ends up getting jumped because of a former sales guy or, customer comes to him and is like, no, this is a fake product. And then they all jump on him and beat him up. He gets approached by a sorceress who we assume. Turns out to be Kronika. She was the timekeeper in the last one. So now we're getting interesting. We're getting spicy. Ooh, why is she still alive? Why is she still here? Blah, blah, blah. So he, with her backing, kind of grows to power and is kind of in the backgrounds of Outworld stuff, talking into people's ear, saying Earthrealm's going to eventually betray you, and he's kind of gathering allies there, like General Shao, Reiko, and some other individuals who I can't recall. Earthrealm kind of gets tip on this. Uh-oh, Shang Tsung's back. And Liu Kang's like, what? Why is he back? He should be a nobody. Shouldn't be anything going on here. Eventually we learn, and that leans into there's more badness happening behind the scenes. Quan Chi is back, which is a big reveal as he's DLC coming up. He's back, and the two have formed a deadly alliance. Call out to the back, the former games. And they're going to take over the realms. So Liu Kang's like, well, can't have that happen. You go through, try and stop him with good guys, shenanigans happen. We see some events of the former timeline reoccur in different ways. As, like, for example, Kenshi loses his eyesight again, so he has to use Sento and the ancestors that way. We'll see a little bit of a dissension between the Lin Kuei, where it's brother versus brother, as Bi-Han's very power-hungry and ends up joining the bad guys with the Lin Kuei, and Scorpion and Smoke be like, nah, we don't want a part of that, and go over to the good guy's side. Eventually, this is going to lean into what happens next. And this is the first layer of insanity that this story takes. So, we end up we're revealing the truth to Sindel, Melina, Katana, Tanya, the good squad of Outworld, who's just really trying to be fair and do things right. We reveal to them how they're being worked. Things are happening behind their backs, stuff like that. So it turns out to be Team Good Guy, duh, against Team Bad Guy, also duh. This whole time, Shang Tsung and Quan Chi have been gathering souls to resurrect an undead army. Wow. Trope. They finally gather enough resources. Our good guys are not able to stop them in time. And we get Kronika making her return, being, revealed as this big baddie that's been messing with things. Psych, it's not Kronika. It's actually Shang Tsung, not the Shang Tsung we knew, but a Shang Tsung from a different timeline being like, haha, I just wanted to wipe out your timeline, Liu Kang, because I fucking hate you. This was the first mind blow moment of this fucking campaign. Let's circle back to MK11. MK11 you play through. Eventually, Liu Kang wins. Hey, keeper of time. Kronika's out of the picture. Oh, but wait, the crown that controls the hourglass is broken. Ruh-roh. We get DLC for that one called Aftermath. And Aftermath included 4, I believe, characters or something like that. And it, was the journey of going back again in time and making sure the crown held intact. That included good characters and bad characters, including one Shang Tsung. So eventually at the end of that DLC, Liu Kang and Shang Tsung, who's been a dickhead this whole time, end up fighting each other for control of the hourglass. And guess what, as a player, you get to do? You get to choose who you want to win. You play as them, you win. To me, and I'm sure everybody, it was just like, one of these is canon, one of these is just going to be fun, haha, like the tower modes. This was what would have happened. Psych! No! Both are canon. Both of these timelines have been going and running parallel this whole time, where Liu Kang won, his timeline happened. Shang Tsung timeline, he won, his timeline happened. And they're going here. So that evil Shang Tsung that you had win in Mortal Kombat 11 is this Shang Tsung now being a dickhead disguising himself as Kronika and pulling the strings to wipe out your timeline. Mind blown. So He then reveals or brings all of his baddies from his timeline, which were all dark versions. So Dark Shao Kahn, Dark blah blah blah, Dark blah blah blah. They're all here. So they're going to invade your timeline and wipe it out. So now it's good and bad guys from Liu Kang's timeline against dickhead Shang Tsung's timeline, right? And you're fighting. Liu Kang gets the idea of like, oh, we're not doing so hot. We need other allies. Maybe if there was another timeline, Shang Tsung's timeline, maybe there's other timelines. Let's go see. He goes to other timelines and calls his friends. He gets the Keeper of Time Katana, Keeper of Time Kung Lao, Keeper of Time Raiden, and there might have been another one, but I'm forgetting. Brings them, those 5 and Geras fight off Shang Tsung and his timeline's phonies, right? To protect their hourglass so their timeline stays intact. Which then leads to the mind-blowing moment again. I guess this could be 2, this could be 3. We set up a giant Avengers Infinity War Endgame moment where both teams go and recruit all the good guys and all the bad guys across all these timelines. And we get revealed all these different variations of characters on the good and bad guy side. And you just go, holy fucking shit, we're doing this. This leads to the final chapter with the reveal of all these characters on this giant pyramid, calling back to the Armageddon game. You typically in, the games, the chapters, each chapter has its designated character that you choose, you run through it, and you get the conclusion, right? In the final chapter of this game, you can pick anybody. You can pick whoever you want. And they will throw you into that character, one of the random variations from a different timeline. And you see this giant clash happen on top of the pyramid. And this is just pure fucking insanity. You see different variations fighting each other, throwing each other off into the pyramid itself where the souls are, or killing each other, whatever. And you run into different variations of characters on the way up. And the thing about these variations is they're also combinations of characters. So instead of just Shao Kahn, it will be Shao Kahn and Sub-Zero morphed into one, where their movesets are together. It's 1-round fights. You do this through 7 or 8 fights. You get fun cameos from like Johnny Cage as a mime and see the Johnny Cage family. You see the Combat Kids, which I popped for hard. And then they get immediately wiped out by other timeline katana. That was a little sad. But you get just all this insanity going on. You fight through different variations. The variations are different. There are a few that do stick around, but I played through this chapter twice for a trophy. And the variations are random. You could fight totally new variations. You could fight different ones at different orders. That's kind of cool. So you have this random mechanic to it. You eventually fight to the top where OG Liu Kang, who made the timeline, and you, whoever you are, fight against super evil Shang Tsung and super evil Quan Chi, and it's your final battle. I almost thought for a moment this is where they're going to bring back the Mortal Kombat 9 like tag team mechanic and throw that in there just because we've had reference to the other titles in here. They did not. But you end up fighting them, you win, and you erase them from your timeline, and then everybody kind of returns back to their respective timelines. Insanity. Story ends. Our initial 4 heroes with Raiden, or not with Raiden, excuse me, Liu Kang, just sharing tea. Johnny's talking about making this whole thing into a movie, and you get your nice happy ending. Post-credits, because of course there's a post-credits. We need to tease what's happening next. We see Titan Havoc, which I believe they were calling Titans to the people who are like in charge of everything, the timekeepers. Titan Havoc with what I assume is his timeline or a few of his timeline's representatives. And he's like, this was awesome. I don't know much about the character Havoc. I assume he feeds off of this chaos and bloodshed and all that stuff. But he's like, we need to do this again, and it's not gonna stop. And that's where it cuts off. And I'm just like, how the fuck are we gonna elevate this even farther in craziness, stupidity, insanity, fun that this was? Like, where do you go from here? I thought it was crazy enough that we're colliding timelines in 11, getting the past and the future going against each other. Like, just a fun nostalgia kick for everybody who's been a part of this series. Now you're taking all these timelines and colliding them together at the same time to get all the variants here. What are you going to do next? And, you know, for everything I loved of this story, from the beginning setup of this new timeline to the absolute insanity that it turned out to be in the later half, I loved it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great ride for someone who's been part of the Mortal Kombat franchise, granted not since the start, but from the part that I have been in to this journey. It was fun. It was rewarding. It's like one of those things, we'll reward the people who have been with us for this time. I can't help but also be on the negative about it. Maybe not negative, but be like, I wish it went a different way. I can't shake the feeling of I wish it went a different way in terms of like just focusing on this new timeline. This new timeline was intriguing because we're seeing characters we already know a history for, seeing what's different about them, learning what's different about the Lin Kuei, what's going to happen there, seeing their history there. With Melina now having a disease of the Tarkat instead of being a clone of Katana and being fused with the Tarkatan DNA, trying to see where that goes. Seeing how maybe General Shao does rise to power, or what kind of evil he does to usurp Sindel and her being in charge, stuff like that. That would have been more interesting. And I think we got glimpses of it, like seeing what Reptile's history was, seeing Baraka being actually a really cool guy and not just a super mindless monster, and dealing with this disease that he has. Like, seeing the difference in characters here, I think would have been more intriguing, and they could still do it. But I wish that would have been the focus instead of like this giant universal battle between everybody. Like I said, I still had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was a cool moment. I still enjoyed this story a lot. It's just maybe I can't shake the feeling of like, I wish they delved into that more. We do have a few setup points at the end of this story. We talked about the Lin Kuei, Sub-Zero, Bihan, kind of breaking apart and doing his own thing. I'm curious to know if, like, does that still go to the Cyber Lin Kuei? Do we still get that? We had name drops of Cyrax and Sector in there. Are we going to eventually see their human forms and then have some debate with them? Scorpion, Kuai Lang, and Smoke, they end up forming the Shira Ryu, like in an opposing clan. So I'm excited to see how that story plays out. I believe now Melina is in charge. Yes, Sindel did die. So we'll have to see how her reign goes. Jared is back to life in the form of Ermac, which is a little weird. Cool to see Ermac in here. Also teased as DLC, or not teased, but confirmed as DLC. So seeing him, but then also, like, you have these players in Shang Tsung and Quan Chi involved. How do they recoup? What do they decide to do for their next attack and stuff like that? That would have been interesting for me, or from my perspective, like, we should explore this more. But now, while intrigued, I'm concerned, where do we go from here in terms of scale? Like, we already had insanity in this one of timeline versus timeline versus timeline versus timeline. What do we do different with Havoc's thing? Like, how does that feel different or significant enough to feel like a step up from this universal battle royale that we just had? and not just like it falls flat. I feel like with the rehash here, it felt like the bottom rung, not in a bad way, but just like it's a fresh start. There's nowhere to go but up. With the instant elevation of the Cosmic Battle Royale, that's a huge leap compared to this. Still feels like a step up of a fresh timeline because they have the freedom to do whatever they want. Tell these new stories with these characters, these different backstories, different motivations, different character swaps of this good guy's now bad guy, this bad guy's now good guy, whatever it is. And just build on top of that with slow pieces. Instead, we went this giant leap, and it's like, okay, what tops this super high platform you've made for yourself? It does make sense in terms of invasion mode. Like, that's where your content's coming from, this hypothetical other timelines. We get to see that in invasions of like, oh, this makes sense. This timeline's invading here. That sets up the story for that. And it gives us ample costume changes, color changes, whatever it is, because of the amount of content you've provided, hypothetically, with this universal timeline infinity thing. That makes sense. It's just a little concerning, a little worrying. Granted, NetherRealm hasn't yet, in terms of this recent stretch of games, made me feel like I need to be super worried. I feel they can pull it off. It's just in my head, the wheels are turning of like, what do you do now? And Ed Boon, I believe, has come out and posted on X, Twitter, whatever. This game is going to be supported for a long time, which they definitely have ample amount of content with the timeline thing. So it's going to be a while, as it has been between titles, of seeing the next one. So they have time to figure it out. I just hope they didn't shoot themselves in the foot and like elevating it too high. With the next game, I hope they balance the scale of what they're trying to do with the insanity and still add new stuff to this timeline that makes it feel interesting. There's only one other place I feel that the story kind of dipped down in a little way. There was one point where it's before the reveal of Chronica as Shang Tsung, where we send the Lin Kuei, Sub-Zero and Scorpion and Smoke to deal with the Soul Collectors. And Raiden and Kung Lao are like, oh, we want to go too. And Liu Kang, stops them and says, no, I have something more important for you guys to do. I don't think we ever see what they do, or it never comes into fruition. It just kind of is like a dead story point that never gets expanded on. I'm not sure if maybe I just missed something, but that felt weird. Like that we wouldn't jump into whatever journey they were also doing at the same time. And I feel like that happens with our 4 characters that were initially the heroes at the beginning. They just kind of stop and don't do anything. Like Johnny and Kenshi don't do much after they get back from returning from Outworld. I think the only important thing that Johnny did was, oh, we have a drone now that I bought. We don't get any growth from Kenshi towards the finale. And it just falls flat. And there's other characters that fall flat, and I get it. They're supposed to be just kind of, not cannon fodder, but they're supposed to expand on the armies of each side. Reiko's just there. Natara's just there. Ashura has a little glimpse of story in Outworld, and then nothing as she returned to Earthrealm with us. Reptile, we seem to be giving a backstory. He's another one. Just kind of, where was he? Baraka, I get, couldn't go past the city walls because of the disease. So he was just kind of there for the beginning. And then Smoke, like I said, he was just kind of there. We don't get a lot of his backstory other than he was adopted into the clan. There's just a few characters that I wish we got a little bit more with in terms of this story, or at least like continuation of. But I get it. With the amount of elements that they're playing with, it's hard to balance everybody. So, all in all, an amazing, fun experience. Not going to deny that. Amazing fun experience that I did have with this story and the insanity that they brought to the table. I just can't help shake the feeling of wanting something different. And I know that may be a little bit selfish because, like, I don't know, we're nitpicky, but that's how I'm feeling right now. So overall, great time, great experience playing it. I cannot deny the amount of TLC they put into all the aspects of this game, graphics, animation, etc., etc. Excited to see where it goes. NetherRealm hasn't missed yet, so I can't really doubt them too much. It's just maybe I wanted something a little bit different out of this new timeline. That's all. But everybody, that's going to wrap up the Wait Were We Talking About podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed today's discussion. Some video games. A little trip down memory lane, some recent stuff, all that fun stuff. But my name is Bret, aka Enigma911. Appreciate you guys hanging out today. If you guys want to catch the podcast live, you can go over to twitch.tv/Enigma911. You can drop a follow over there. You get notified when we go live and join on the chat and discussion like Jeff did with us today. You join on all the fun. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, or it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support the show, likes, follows, subscriptions, reviews, whatever it is. It may seem small, but it does help the channel grow significantly. So if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Today, thanks for giving this a watch, giving it a listen. If you're playing Mortal Kombat, let me know what you think of it. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. We will see you guys on the next one. Take care.